almost around the clock for the past decade on this endeavor, deepening the port's main channel and the west and east basin channels from 45 feet to 53 feet deep.
The Port of Los Angeles is ready and able to accommodate the largest containers and container ships in the world, even ships that will be too large to navigate through the widened Panama Canal.
In order to maintain and improve its infrastructure, the port is in the midst of a 5-year, $1.3 billion capital improvement program, something that Congresswoman Janice Hahn says is imperative.
If we don't invest in our nation's ports, we will not remain competitive globally as we should.
The channel deepening project represents part of the port's ongoing efforts to also assure its continued growth and job creation. The project was conducted by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on the port's behalf. And now
we can proudly say the Port of L.A. is officially big ship ready.
As a leading seaport in North America in terms of shipping container volume and cargo value, the port generates more than 830,000 regional jobs and $35 billion in annual wages and tax revenues. From the Port of Los Angeles, I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
The city of Los Angeles is taking part in a national movement to help restore reading to the center of American culture. Gil Reyes has more from LA's Big Read program.
With Councilman Tom LaBonge front and center, the city declares the month of April Big Read and Literacy Month in Los Angeles.
LA has one of the highest illiteracy rates in the United States. And in a city like ours, in a city where we understand how important education is, it's critical that we celebrate the written word.
Through April's nationwide Big Read program, communities come together to read and discuss one book for each participating city. Here in Los Angeles, it's Naguib Mahfouz's 1961 suspense novel, The Thief and the Dogs. Mahfouz is widely considered Egypt's most prolific writer, the only Arab ever to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. You're encouraged to pick up his book.
And the choice to bring one of the Naguib Mahfouz novels to L.A. readers is a great opportunity to introduce community here, as well as the readers, both young and old, to one of the richest cultures in the Middle East.
It's so important that in a city like Los Angeles, which is so multicultural, that we learn about each other's cultures.
Throughout the coming weeks, there will be free to low-cost events to supplement your reading material, including book discussions, even a book fair. For that information, you can go online by logging on to culturela.org and download the material from there. Outside the Central Library in downtown, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Among those special events is an upcoming free screening of the movie Chased by the Dogs, based on Mahfouz's novel. The screening and discussion will take place at the Warner Grand Theater in San Pedro on May 3rd. For more information, visit laharborfilmfest.com. The 35th Annual Abilities Expo at the LA Convention Center was a one-stop shop event for people living with or caring for those with disabilities. From resources to the latest gadgets, the expo showcased what you can do instead of what you can't do.
Technology is changing every day, and for those living with physical or developmental disabilities, keeping up with the latest tools can mean a world of difference.
I've been coming to it for about 20 years. Every year I see something different. You get to network and meet people and find out what's out there.
Of the people with disabilities, most of the people you see that you'll notice are people who have mobility issues. They're in wheelchairs or power chairs or walkers or scooters. But we also have people here with vision problems or with hearing challenges and even developmental disabilities, because there are products and services, different solutions and resources they can use just to make their everyday life a little bit easier or more efficient, to help them figure out things they can do.
For Carl Brown, who is about to get married, he's got his eyes on one thing and one thing only.
The car.
John Watkins also has his eyes on a new set of wheels.
At the beginning, I was going to first get me a car, but right now, this year, I might get me a truck. I didn't know they had the new truck that could swing and pick you up and everything.
Over 200 exhibitors and thousands of visitors over the course of the three-day expo, connecting those with the know-how with those with need.
Everything from vehicles that are accessible, wheelchairs, power chairs, exercise equipment, durable medical equipment, scooters.
But not everything at the expo was about technology. It was also about fun and recreation, such as the 25-foot accessible climbing wall. The expo, with all its bells and whistles, is coming back to the LA Convention Center in 2014. Not soon enough for some.
I just wish they have it every 6 months, though, instead of every year.
The Abilities Expo started in 1979 at the LA Convention Center. LAPD Chief Charlie Beck takes a stand on immigration and workers' rights during a luncheon honoring the late union leader Cesar Chavez. Gil Reyes reports.
The event at Los Angeles River Center and Gardens honored an icon of the Mexican labor movement, whose influence lives on in today's LAPD, according to its chief.
That will be the role of the police department, not to protect the interests of the rich, but to protect the interests of everybody, especially those that need protection the most.
Cesar Chavez co-founded the group that would become the United Farm Workers Union. Through peaceful demonstrations, supporters say Chavez's efforts improved the lives of the underdog, union laborers from immigrant communities who didn't have a voice. Today, the fight continues, but labor leaders say with more support these days from the LAPD.
We've been marching on May 1st since 2000, but with one very significant aberration of which we have all learned. Our police department has protected our peaceful assembly and worked with diverse organizers to make some of the largest marches in history, some of the most peaceful and safe. So for that, you deserve a round of applause and a huge thank you. Thank you, LAPD.
The LAPD's partnership with immigrant communities hasn't always been perfect. Accusations of police brutality and profiling through the years. Also, the May Day rally of 2007 that saw officers clash with demonstrators. But LAPD Chief Charlie Beck says his officers are working to bridge the gap.
As we work through those issues, we define a path for the rest of the nation. And I'm proud to be part of that. I'm proud to be your partner. I'm proud to be your friend. Thank you very much.
In Cypress Park at the luncheon celebrating Cesar Chavez on what would have been his 86th birthday, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The LAPD has reached out to immigrant communities in other ways. Recently, Chief Beck has gone on record to support driver's licenses for undocumented workers, also not turning over to federal authorities undocumented immigrants arrested for low-level crimes. Baseball season is here, and there's a free Dodger shuttle to boot. The LAPD makes headway in a Northridge kidnapping case, and the city begins a string of meetings in advance of fixing up LA streets. These stories and more in City Beat. Dodger fans, leave your cars at home and instead take Metro to Union Station downtown, then hop on the Dodger Stadium Express. The ride is free as long as you present a valid Dodgers ticket. Service will run every 10 minutes starting 90 minutes prior to the start of the game and run every 30 minutes throughout the game, with service ending 45 minutes after the end of the game. More info can be found by going to metro.net. It's a case that shocked many Valley residents, the alleged kidnapping of a 10-year-old Northridge girl from her home in the middle of the night. Now, robbery homicide detectives have arrested Daniel Martinez of West Hills in connection with the kidnapping on March 27th. 29-year-old Martinez was arrested in Northridge Easter Sunday. As of our news deadline, the second suspect wanted in connection with this case, 30-year-old Tobias Dustin Summers, was still being sought for his involvement with the kidnapping.
The proposed $664 million Millennium Hollywood project, which would include two 55-story skyscrapers sandwiching the 13-story Capitol Records building, has drawn the objection of Councilman Tom LaBonge. LaBonge, whose district encompasses the area of the project, says the proposed towers would mar the Hollywood landscape. With almost 500 residential units and 200 luxury hotel rooms, the large-scale project being proposed by New York-based developer Millennium Partners was approved by the City Planning Commission, but still needs council approval. Councilman Joe Buscaino, chair of the Public Works Committee, has announced a series of special committee meetings to discuss LA's notoriously bad streets. In January, Buscaino and Councilman Mitchell Englander proposed a bond measure to fund the repair of 8,700 lane miles of streets in the worst condition, but then asked the City Council to delay acting on the measure after neighborhood councils requested more time to study it. The City Council's Public Works Committee will now hold a series of special meetings in the month of April with city officials and engineers before holding another series of meetings to get input from members of the public. The city's dedication to creating more green space is more evident than ever as new parks and upgrades to existing parks continue to pop up around the city. And the latest in line for a makeover is Evergreen Recreation Center. Right now, children who play at the Evergreen Rec Center in Boyle Heights have a few swings and a jungle gym to enjoy. But soon, kids and adults will enjoy a brand new park, complete with a so-called tot lot for children up to 5, a playground for youth 5 to 12, and an adult fitness zone with shade protection over all the kid and adult equipment.
We in the Latino community in particular are suffering from high rates of obesity and other health-related problems associated with obesity. So when you improve parks in heavily populated Latino communities, it makes a huge difference. And when we invest a little in playgrounds and park space, it goes a long way.
First 5 LA, a partner in this project, is involved in some 40 such tot parks and trails to be located throughout Los Angeles County to address childhood obesity. The Los Angeles Neighborhoods Initiative is also a partner in the project, helping to secure funding and community support.
We have 13,000 children under the age of 5 within a 2-mile radius. What better place could there possibly be to build these kinds of improvements?
The park's makeover will cost around $600,000, with half coming from the city's Department of Recreation and Parks and the other half from First 5 LA. Because city leaders say at a time when the city's facing economic hardships, public-private partnerships and the support of the community are what make new park construction and park makeovers like this one possible. In this week's list of things to do, enjoying art under the stars, learning about how to care for those with Alzheimer's, and a free family-friendly film screening. Every summer, the Museum of Latin American Art presents Murals Under the Stars, one of the most exciting outdoor artistic experiences in Southern California. Using the most advanced projection technology, the murals created by famous Mexican artists will be projected life-size onto an outdoor wall, giving viewers the sensation of experiencing the original murals in person. It all takes place on Saturday, April 13th at 7 p.m. at the USC University Park Campus International Plaza, located at 3607 Truesdale Parkway. This event will also include live music and a dynamic talk by Gregorio Luke, an expert on Mexican and Latin American art and culture. Call 213-740-0483 for details. The Alzheimer's Association is hosting its 2013 Early Memory Loss Forum, Claiming Our Lives, Planning Our Futures, at the Los Angeles Convention Center on Saturday, April 13th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The conference is designed for those who are in the early stages of Alzheimer's, who have mild cognitive impairment and other dementias, as well as for their family members and caretakers. The Los Angeles Convention Center is located at 1201 South Figueroa Street downtown. For more information, visit alz.org. Catch a free family flick at the Hammer Museum on Sunday, April 14th. The featured film, The Kid, will screen from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. In this 1921 film, Charlie Chaplin shares the screen with 6-year-old Jackie Coogan in this heartwarming and hilarious portrait of a tramp and the orphan boy he raises into a fun, industrious little tyke. The film is appropriate for children 6 and up. All Hammer public programs are free, but you do need to obtain a ticket at the box office. The Hammer Museum is located at 10899 Wilshire Boulevard. More info can be found at hammer.ucla.edu. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. For 76 years, the Los Angeles Mission has served the homeless population downtown. The homeless shelter recently hosted its annual Good Friday Easter event for thousands of Angelenos. Cindy San Luis takes us there.
The food's good. They're going to give tennis shoes out. We're lucky today.
Countless volunteers were on hand at the Los Angeles Mission's annual Good Friday Easter event to provide a meal and give some cheer to some of Los Angeles' homeless.
So you enjoying the meal?
Yeah, very much.
Is this a Good Friday?
Yeah.
Good. It's just really inspirational to see that, we can do something for the homeless community, and it's a great day for them to have the feeling that they are a part of the community and that there are people that want to give back to them.
The Etnies brand shoe company donated 2,000 pairs of shoes and has done so for the past 16 years at the event. Etnies president and CEO himself was homeless when he came from France to Venice, California, about 27 years ago.
He has a great idea of giving back, and I just wanted to be part of this. I think it's a great thing that the LA Mission does.
Smiles were on children's faces as they received Easter baskets with toys. And in the spirit of Christian giving, volunteers washed the feet of the homeless just like Jesus did for his disciples. This is Oscar Alvarez's first time here, and he is grateful.
It's a blessing. I thank God for this. That's good. Very good.
About 3,500 meals were served and many hearts were opened as volunteers like Todd Furuike say they've found a new tradition for Good Friday. I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacitieview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Did you know you or your family may be eligible to receive as much as $5,800 from the federal government? Learn how you can receive free income tax assistance from certified preparers to apply for the Earned Income Tax Credit. For more information, go to Board of Equalization Chairman Jerome Horton's webpage, which can be accessed at boe.ca.gov. The City of Los Angeles encourages you to make your appointment today at 1-323-980-1221.
This is Koreatown. My name is Kwang Bae Kim. You watch LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. It's Friday, April 12th, 2013. Welcome you all to the Los Angeles City Hall chambers. I'd like to invite my colleagues down to the floor. It's now 10 o'clock. Can you please make your way down to the chambers? I appreciate to have you here. We have quite a few presentations, so we will wait for a quorum. So Sergeant, can we start getting my council colleagues to the floor? Thank you. Thank Councilor Alarcon for being here on time. Thank you, Councilor Alarcon. Colleagues, we have a pretty tight agenda. A few presentations. Love to welcome you to come on down. And you can come and visit with our Dodger heroes, Sweet Lou Johnson and Tommy Davis, who's here waiting for us. So come on down, folks, and let's give them a big round of applause. These are Dodger heroes, and we'll be here in the presentation in a few minutes. I want to welcome to City Hall and invite my colleagues to come down and meet you. Thank you. Guzan, Laban for joining us. Thank you, sir. And for a few more council members come on down. I understand public safety has closed session, so hopefully they'll be down here in a few minutes as well. Thank you, Councilmember Zine. Thank you for joining us. We have 10 minutes past 10. I want to thank Councilman Alarcon, Councilmember Krikorian, Councilman Labange, Councilmember Parks, Councilmember Zion for being here. We need a few more council members for a quorum, so please come on down. Sergeant, can we get more council members down here, please? Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the LA City Council. Please come to order in council chambers. Thank you all very much. I'm Councilmember Dennis Zine, temporarily sitting in while we have a presentation. Before we start our official council meeting, we have a presentation by Councilmember Ed Reyes and Councilmember Tom Labange. Tom Labange, take it away.
Coming right in there. Thank you, Mr. President. Some very distinguished people are here today because today in Los Angeles is Jackie Robinson Day in the city of Los Angeles. So I'm going to ask my colleague Ed Reyes, which has the great honor of representing Dodger Stadium, to say a few words, and I'll join in the words afterwards. Please welcome Ed Reyes.
Thank you, Tom. For the past 12 years, we've had the honor of celebrating this great day. I want to thank my colleague, Councilman Tom Labange, for his great effort, who I consider one of the greatest cheerleaders of Los Angeles, in celebrating the great moments we have here in this amazing city. There's a lot of energy out there because of the movie that's out. But this energy has been here all along. And the Jackie Robinson Foundation has shown that sense of commitment to community, the sense of heart, the courage, more importantly, that statement that says that we are all important. And Jackie Robinson showed it day after day throughout his career as a Bruin, which I'm very happy to say, but also as a Dodger, as a citizen, as a man of the world. So we're joined here with great figures of Dodger history, and Councilor Labange will do those introductions as only he can. But colleagues, I'm hoping that we continue to celebrate this great day. I want to thank the Jackie Robinson Foundation for what you do and being able to address all the goals that address the needs of those that truly need the attention and the support. And it is a legacy that will live on forever in the name of Jackie Robinson. So Councilor Labange, before you take it away, I want to thank the new Dodger organization, the new owners, for their focus on the Dodgers. We have with us here today Rafael Gonzalez, Director of Community Relations. Come on up here, Rafael. Don't be shy. Representing the new Dodger owners, come on up. I'm not sure if Renata Simra will be here today. Okay, but she might be on her way. And we also have Juan Campos. The Campo, here you go. There you go, our photographer. Thank you, sir, for joining us. And as you know, we're off to a pretty good start. a little bit of energy on the field, but we're going to start our winning ways. So with that, Tom, take it away. This is a big round of applause for Jackie Robinson Day.
All right. And as you mentioned, Mr. Reyes, 12 years ago, Duke Russell, 1948, single-A ball player with the Dodgers, Hollywood High All-Star, All-Western League, still lives in the district there. Duke, for a quick few words, the guy who wrote the first letter to Mayor Hahn, then Mayor Hahn, and then your councilman, and said, let's do something about Jackie Robinson Day. Duke Russell.
Good morning, Mr. President and members of the council. Thank you and former Mayor James Caan for the 12th tribute to Jackie Robinson. He brought millions of us together in a new friendship and understanding. Thank you.
Good job. Let's give a big hand for Duke. I'm going to vote for Duke. He gave the shortest speech. Good job, Duke. But all that being said, there's nobody, as Mr. Reyes said, from Pasadena High School, a Bulldog and a Lancer at Pasadena City College, a Bruin at UCLA, and then the Dodgers. And you know, this is the day, too, that the Jackie Robinson story, number 42, breaks out in theater today. For all of us to go this weekend or this week to see the movie, to learn about Jackie Robinson and his history and what it's about. We're joined by some very special Dodgers, including the 1962, Tommy, or three? And three. Batting champion, the greatest left fielder that the Dodger had. Please welcome Tommy Davis right now.
Thank you, Mr. President and the rest of y'all. I'm here to talk about Jackie. Jackie Robinson Day is every day in my life because I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I was about 8 years old when he came. And I never saw the energy rise so high in Brooklyn after he came. He was outstanding. He was a great athlete. You know, he played 4 sports in college. So I'm just to see him play, just to see him run as a big guy, 200 pounds, 6'1". He stole bases, stole home several times. I mean, he's just united the whole. Brooklyn was his own state in New York City. It was his own state, and I know he went through a lot of problems, and you could see it. You can see it in 6 years when he first came there. His hair was all black. He came to my junior high school in 1953. So when he came, it was in 1947. So he came to my high school in 1953, and his hair was totally white. Totally white. He went through a lot of stress. But he hung on as probably the only person that could have gone through that. And I'll tell you one other story. I was in high school, and I was approached by 4 or 5 teams, including the Dodgers, to play for them. In those days, you didn't give me very much money, so, you know, what happened, the Yankees came to me and said I could work out with them anytime I wanted to when they were home. So I was working out with the likes of Mickey Mantle and you know, and Whitey Ford, Yogi Berra, Moose Gowan, Elston Howard, and it was, you know, it's overwhelming for a 17-year-old boy, but the Dodgers were also interested. You know, Al Campanis would come to the house to show my parents they were interested, but he found out I was going to sign with the Yankees on a Tuesday night. What he did, that Sunday before that Tuesday, he had Jackie Robinson call my house. And he was trying, when I heard his name, I didn't even remember what he said. I was telling my mother, that's Jackie Robinson. This is Jackie Robinson. So I guess he was trying to tell me about the advantages of signing with the Dodgers. Didn't have to say anything. I was supposed to sign Tuesday night. I signed Tuesday afternoon with the Dodgers.
I just want to, Tommy Davis and the late, great Willie Davis played center field. I just always like to mention your colleague Willie. He was number 3. He still holds the city high jump championship, long jump, 25-8 from Roosevelt High. He's in heaven. Give it up to Willie Davis right there. 1965, the Dodgers win the World Series, but somebody has to hit the home run. It's none other than Sweet Lou Johnson. Sweet Lou.
Good morning, everybody. I'm here wearing this shirt because of Jackie Robinson. I played with several teams, and I finally got with the team of my choice in 1965. And as a payback, I just happened to hit the home run to win the World Championship. I'm the only ball player that played 20 years of baseball and known for 2 hits. And I'm standing here with a multitude of people whom I love for becoming fans. I want to give a special thanks to Tommy Davis. He was so willingly broke his ankle for me in left field to give me a chance to play with the Dodgers. So for the payback, I gave him a World Championship ring and a check that he still owes me the residuals of. With that. But to finish, basically, I've been with the Dodgers now in the front office for 32 years. Offered 2 hits, which goes to show what I talk to the kids, don't give up until it's time to give up. It's because one day it's going to come for you, and be ready for it when it comes. So it came for me, and I'm in the front office and wearing a proud 42 because he started all for me. Thank you.
I'd like to call on right now John Young. John Young started RBI, Reviving Baseball in the Inner City. And followed up by that, I'm going to have John Muckery, who will tell you how important that is, our General Manager of Recreation and Parks. Please welcome John Young.
Thank you, Tom. It's such an honor to be here today. I was a Detroit Tiger, but incidentally, the Detroit Tigers was the next to the last team to integrate, 1959. And I've just retired a couple years ago from 43 years in professional Major League Baseball, and it was just a great run, and it would not have happened without Mr. Robinson. So I just have so grateful to be here to speak on him, the fact that he's a Southern Californian, and his family, and just the great things they're doing with the Jackie Robinson Foundation is just something special. I'm also just honored to be the founder of the RBI program and have stood before this council on several occasions. In fact, it's a nationwide program now that started in the 8th District. So I always had support from everyone here, and I appreciate it. And I think it's so important that on Jackie Robinson Day, I just think about what's on his gravestone. He's got a life is only important as to the impact it has on others. And so I'm just glad that we're all making an impact on people's lives. Thank you.
And for some remarks, John Muckery, our General Manager of Recreation and Parks, responsible for over hundreds and hundreds of ball fields throughout the city.
Thank you, Tom, and thank everybody. And it's quite an honor and a privilege to stand with these titans of baseball behind me. As the General Manager of Rec and Parks, we reach out to hundreds of thousands of kids in Los Angeles. The Dodgers' commitments to these kids can be seen at many ball fields throughout the city. Behind me are 2 of the players that come virtually to every single opening. But it started long before that, honoring Jackie Robinson. When he broke the color barrier in baseball, he broke the barrier for all of us. Everybody can be what they want to be. And he did such a remarkable job for all of us with dignity and grace. This past February, I was with a number of baseball players from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s with John Young, and they still talked about the racism that went on as they were in the minor leagues. If it wasn't for Jackie, I cannot even imagine where I would be today, being the son, second generation, of 4 grandparents. None of them were born in America. Not one spoke English when they came here. And so as we honor today, we honor a man who made this all possible. All of us today came from one point at one point in time. And let me just close by saying I have a greater appreciation for the sport of baseball, being an outsider. I'm not one of the members of the fraternity of the guys behind me. But if you look at baseball, baseball has been consistent through America. It has changed the complexion of America. It is now international. And I want to give credit again, in closing, to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have been a strong, strong supporter of youth baseball, and thank my good friend John Young for bringing RBI. And he underestimated, it's not just nationally, John, it is internationally. And we have World Series every year. And this year, John, I hope our team from LA wins. Thank you all.
Good job, John. Good job. As international as it may seem, I was driving west on a highway in France, and I came by some parks, Pete, and I got off the highway because I went back to young people who were playing baseball in France. And for the French to play baseball means a lot. So it is international. It is special. And, John, thank you for your remarks. I also want to call on right now Rafael Gonzalez, who's the Director of Community Relations for the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. Rafael, good to see you.
Great. Thank you, Council Member. And thank you, esteemed members of the City Council. It really is a privilege to be here this morning to commemorate the legacy of Jackie Robinson, to be here with the entire City Council, the community, our Dodger alumni who have given so much to the community, to City Rec and Parks, who we enjoy partnering with on a daily basis, supporting our community. And I can tell you, being part of this organization and being connected to the legacy of Jackie Robinson for me is an honor as an Angelino, but also as a Dodger fan, as somebody who opened up the door to so many other players, and we can go down the list, but we won't go right now. And I just want to say, you know, that this weekend there are a lot of activities throughout this region commemorating Jackie Robinson, and we hope to see you all at many of these activities, including Monday night, April 15th at Dodger Stadium, where we're going to be commemorating Jackie Robinson Day, and we have a lot of great activities there to pay homage to a true hero of Los Angeles, and that is Jackie Robinson. So thank you very much for inviting us here. The Dodgers are proud to support the LA City Council and support you in terms of honoring this beautiful, incredible memory that Jackie Robinson has given all of us. Thank you.
Rafael, thank you. I do want to give a shout out to the late, great Larry Doby, who was the first to break the color barrier in the American Football League for the Cleveland Indians, I believe it was. Give it up for the late, great Larry Doby right there. Now, we're so special here to have the niece of Jackie Robinson, but the Robinson family is very special as they grew up in Pasadena and the impact, as you say. But I just want to give a shout out to Mac Robinson, who holds the record for the winner of the silver medal in Berlin in the 36 games, which were such important games, as we know. This family has great heritage and history, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation, what it's doing today in educating people. And I recall a story that Don Newcomb told me that once Jackie, as well as Roy Campanella, met with Dr. Martin Luther King at a home in the neighborhood, and they spoke together, and Dr. King spoke out what a tougher job that the ball players had than he ever had for the abuse they took in stadiums as the color line was broken there. And I remember Don Newcomb saying that to me. It is such an important aspect of life, a tough situation that has only gotten better as the diversity, not just in athletics, but in art, in all aspects, from the President of the United States on down. So it's my pleasure to ask right now that we welcome Kathy Robinson Young, the niece of the late, great Jackie Robinson, as we call Jackie Robinson Day in Los Angeles.
Thank you, and good morning. First of all, I'd just like to say this is my daughter, Brittany. I'm recognizing her this morning. She's been on the honor roll at Dorsey High School. She's about to graduate with a 4.0 all year long.
Wow.
On behalf of the entire Robinson family, the Jackie Robinson Foundation, it's a pleasure and a privilege and a delight to be here with everyone this morning. I have spoken with my Aunt Rachel over the last few days. She was the guest along with her daughter Sharon and son David. They were hosted by the White House on April 2nd. And that was such a beautiful tribute I noticed it and saw it on the internet. So it was just a great tribute to Uncle Jackie and in regards to the movie 42. On last Tuesday, April 9th, I had the pleasure to take my mother and we went to see 42 at Grauman's Chinese Theater. And it's a must-see, as everyone is saying, a wonderful, wonderful movie. Loved it tremendously. Uncle Jackie, one thing that I got out of the movie as far as, I noticed a lot about family. And I drew on that and I recognized it along with our own family. It brought a lot of family back together and values and things like that. So I hope that everyone gets a chance to go out to see the movie. And I really appreciate Jackie Robinson Day. I hope that everyone can take something from what has happened over the years, the Dodgers in the community, along with the Parks and Recreations, also with Los Angeles. Mr. Young, we thank him for all that he's doing in reviving baseball. And I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now we make it official. Mr. Reyes and I, along with all the members of City Council, hereby proclaim this Jackie Robinson Day 12th Annual, number 42 in the program, but number 1 in our hearts. Oh. All right. Good job. That's good right there. Come on, people. Okay.
Okay, she gets cut out.
Yeah, good job. Sweet Lou.
And get cut out.
He had to run. He had to run to something. He had to run.
Okay.
All right, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. LeBones. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Can you please call the roll?
Hallercombe, Buscaino, New England, Garcetti, Weezer, Carrasco, Corrigan, LaBonch, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zine, Wesson, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First item of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Minutes are approved. Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Englander.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Parks, Mr. Krikorian.
Mr. President, before running through today's agenda, there's been a request from member to continue item number 4 to April 16. Again, that's item number 4 to April 16.
Without objection, that's continued.
Very good, sir. Item 1 is an item for which a public hearing has been held. We do have a card on that matter.
We'll hold that. Can we hold the other items and we'll do additional presentations?
In one moment, sir. Items 2 through 8 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Anyone special on those items? Seeing none.
Mr. President, you could bring those matters before us without objection if you'd like.
Without objection. Mr. Englander?
We move it to Friday the 19th, please, instead of the 16th.
Item number 4 to the 19th.
Very good.
Remaining items, colleagues? Seeing none?
Mr. President, all of those items have cards. Perhaps you'd like to hold them on the desk.
Well, then we're going to hold them.
Very good, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, then we will go to additional presentations. The next presentation by the great 9th Councilmember Jan Perry. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'm very proud to stand here today with Eileen Brzezowski, who's the Public Policy Director of the Junior League of Los Angeles, and members of the Junior League of Los Angeles who are here at their City Hall Day to learn more about the legislative process, and I'd like to welcome them by giving them a hand. The Junior League is an organization of women committed to promoting volunteerism and further developing the potential of women to improve our community through their coordinated efforts, from increasing literacy rates to developing educational programs for women, children, and families. These women work in conjunction with local organizations to build better communities. Through their seminars, community service, and mentoring exercises, the Junior League of Los Angeles has sparked a lifelong commitment to building better communities within their membership. And so I'm happy to recognize these women who are present here today in our chamber and the more than 155,000 women in 293 junior leagues who constitute one of the largest, most effective volunteer organizations in the world. And I just want to thank them for coming into their city hall today and learning more about the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Perry. Thank you. Okay, for our next presentation, Councilman Zion, are you ready? Councilman Buscaino, are you ready with your presentation? Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, can we call item 8 now?
Yes, Mr. Clerk, let's move on. Number.
Sure.
We do have cards on that item, so let's take the cards.
Take the cards first. Fantastic.
Okay, we have 2 cards on this item. Arnold Sachs, John Walsh, Juan Alcala. Come on up. Are you here, Arnold Sachs? John Walsh, come on up. And Juan Alcala.
John Walsh, blogging at jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com. Take a look. And this is Mediation Day. We love mediation. Mediation means it's different from arbitration. Arbitration means that the arbitrator decides. Mediation means that the mediator tries to get both sides to agree so that it's compromise. So for a week of mediation, a whole week, very good idea. HollywoodHighlands.org.
I have nothing to say on this item. I pass.
Okay. I believe that does conclude. We have one more call for Arnold Sachs, if you're in the room. I don't see Arnold Sachs, so that does conclude public comment on item 8. Councilor Buscaino, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Actually, is Officer Johnson here, or one of our sergeant arms? He's in the back? Bring him up. He was also a mediator as well. So, thanks, Marco. Today, colleagues, we recognize and celebrate the 9th annual Mediation Awareness Week. When I was a senior lead officer with the Los Angeles Police Department, I dealt with many disputes, whether it was loud parties, barking dogs, an overgrown lawn, or monopolizing street parking. There was never a shortage of reasons for neighbors to fight with each other. Come here, Officer Johnson. He's one of our mediators. Come on up. And as a police officer responding to these matters, it was very difficult to come up with to come in with little or no background information and try to settle disputes that many times had been going on for months or even years. I had the opportunity to have our handy-dandy dispute resolution pamphlet patrolling the streets of the harbor as a senior lead officer and used this resource often. Mediation is an informal and confidential way for people to work through a disagreement. The voluntary process encourages solutions which work for all participants. Impartial mediators help people discuss difficult issues and develop their own solutions. In 1989, the City Attorney's Office established a mediation service called the Dispute Resolution Program, which provides mediation services to residents at no cost. The Dispute Resolution Program provides biannual basic mediation training and is available to mediate all types of civil disputes. To date, over 2,000 volunteers have been trained in basic mediation training, including our own JJ in Watts. Where's JJ? We love you, JJ. There he is. Mediation saves both time and money by resolving disputes without involving law enforcement or the court system. And at this time, it gives me great pleasure to invite Renata Valerie, Program Director of the City Attorney's Dispute Resolution Program, to come up and say a few words. Valerie, there you are.
Good morning. I'd like to thank City Council. I'd like to thank this wonderful group of volunteers. I'd like to thank the councilman and Officer Johnson for recognizing the value of mediation and appreciating that the work that we do as a government program staffed by community volunteers is one that brings peace and civility to the residents of the city of Los Angeles. And I have to say very quickly, thank you to the wonderful group of volunteers behind me.
Yes.
Who donate their time day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year to serve the community of Los Angeles. On behalf of the Office of the Los Angeles City Attorney and the Dispute Resolution Program, thank you.
Thank you, Renata. Where's Bill?
Bill's not here today. He was in court mediating.
Oh, I thought I saw him.
He's right here.
Bill Carter. Come say a few words. The other Bill.
Well, thank you. Bill Carter, City Attorney's Office, here on behalf of City Attorney Carmen Tutanich. One thing we have to remember, when you read the United States Constitution, it says, in order to form a more perfect union, the first thing it says in the Constitution is establish justice. Before building armies, before policemen, I'm sorry, but the first thing they say in our Constitution is to establish justice. And that means for all of us, for all people. And you heard earlier today about the Jackie Robinson Day. It's about justice for all people. It includes not only race and gender and other issues and disabilities, but fairness in our neighborhoods. And what we need in order to be a civilized society, we need people to know that there is a place where they can have their disputes resolved. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to do that in criminal court, sometimes we do it in civil court. But we know that people must get together and work their problems out, because we know the courts are not going to be available to us given the budget issues. And with the budget issues we have here in the city, we know one of the most important programs we have, a free program, is this dispute resolution program. This is a program that should be supported with everything we can to support them. And I really appreciate all the work that all of you people do in your communities for free.
Yes.
And I want to thank all of you for doing that, because without your work, without a place for people to go to talk and vent their issues and have a safety valve, things would be much worse than they are today. And thank you very much for what you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Daniel Ben-Zvi, Chairman and Mediator with ADR Services. He's going to say a few words as how much of an impact this program has across the city. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Daniel Ben-Zvi. I've been sharing this for 9 years, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you to this year's sponsor, Councilman Buscaino, and our former sponsors, Councilman Dennis Zine, Herb Wesson, founding sponsor, Controller Wendy Gruhl. We really appreciate everybody being here for 9 years. This City Council has been bringing together annually the leaders of the two largest opposing bar associations in the nation that are based in Los Angeles, the Plaintiffs' Bar, Consumer Attorneys Association of Los Angeles, and the Defense Attorneys Association for Southern California Defense Council, who are here, together with representatives of professional and volunteer mediators. Like many professional mediators, I myself worked as a volunteer mediator for years before becoming a full-time professional mediator. This proclamation recognizes the great value that professional and volunteer mediators bring to ending disputes to LA's 4 million diverse citizens. Very recently, due to drastic budget cuts, and many courthouses have been closed and court services cut. This makes mediation more essential than ever during these difficult times. It saves LA an enormous expense that would otherwise have to be spent on more judges and more courthouses. And mediation promotes a more civil and productive society. One example. two young entrepreneurs started a food business together. It grew to over 100 employees, a multi-million-dollar success story in Los Angeles. That is until the partners ended up in a bitter fight and a lawsuit, causing the business and the employees to really suffer. Before a planned one-month trial, the partners came to me for mediation. I guided the process, meeting separately and in joint session, and at the end of one day, they agreed to end their dispute. They, their employees, and the food business are now thriving. Just one of the many hundreds of mediation success stories happening here in Los Angeles every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. A few other individuals I'd like to recognize as well, specifically the volunteers behind you. Raise your hands. Show them who you are. We love you. We thank you. Thank you so much for your commitment in this fantastic program. I also want to recognize Wendy Kramer, President of the Southern California Mediation Association, John Shaw, the Alternative Dispute Resolution Liaison of the Association of Southern California Defense Counsel and partner at Morris, Polich, and Purdy. Anyone else want him to speak?
Yes.
Who else wanted to speak?
Wells.
And Jeff Wells, President-elect of the Consumer Attorneys Association of Los Angeles and also partner of the Green, Brule, and Wheeler. Jeff want to speak? Or?
Sure.
Yes. All right. Just Jeff, come on up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. My name is Jeff Wells. I'm the President-elect of the Consumer Attorneys of Los Angeles. We have over 3,000 members. We're the largest local plaintiffs bar in the United States and probably the world. We strongly support this mediation program. We feel like justice delayed many times is justice denied. And the mediation program gives finality. It gives control. It's a fantastic operation. Due to the court cuts and the budget concerns, we've gotten many of our members now to agree, over 300 to agree to volunteer every Friday, 4 times a month, to come down and help mediate cases for free, to help citizens in our community get through their problems and get final resolution for their families and their needs. And I want to thank you for recognizing the importance of this in our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So with that...
Councilor Vizcaíno, you do have one council member on the queue.
One more comment.
Okay.
2 more, Mr. President.
Good morning. I'm John Shaw. I'm the board member of the Association of Southern California Defense Counsel. We're the defense lawyer bar that is the largest regional group of defense lawyers in the nation. From a personal side, I just finished a case in which an elderly woman got sued. And it's the first time in her life she was ever exposed to our justice system. She was scared to death because the alternative for her was she was going to court, she was going to be in front of a jury, and she was afraid she was going to lose her house. Early in the process, we got it to mediation, and through the help of skilled mediators, got the case resolved. She was so grateful. The uncertainty was taken away from her, and every time these mediators settle a case, it's one less pressure on the courts in Los Angeles that are becoming more and more spread thin. Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer, and he counseled that the best thing that we can do as trial lawyers is to be peacemakers. And every day the peacemakers, with your support, do wonderful miracles out there in settling these cases for real people. And our organization appreciates the time and effort of these volunteers, and we support their efforts. Thank you for my time.
Thank you so much, sir. One more. We have Wendy Kramer, again, President of the Southern California Mediation Association. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I was watching the Dodger game last night when a bench-clearing brawl erupted, and our beloved Vin Scully commented that most of the players were acting as peacemakers. It struck me that after being a fighter for my clients for many years as an attorney, I became a mediator, which is in reality a peacemaker, as are the many members of my organization, the Southern California Mediation Association. SCMA is a professional society which provides education and training with the goal to achieve excellence in peacemaking in the Southern California area. Our annual conference takes place each November at the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution at Pepperdine Law School, and it draws speakers and participants from around the world. This year's 25th annual conference is titled Crisis and Opportunity, and this in part speaks to the budget crisis that we are experiencing in our courthouses and the closure of the ADR department. Earlier this year, the SCMA formed a task force to study what we can do to assist the courts and the litigants who previously used the court's ADR program to continue to obtain quality, low-cost mediation services, and we intend to launch that soon. We're honored to participate in today's program, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Buscaino. Councilor Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to acknowledge Alma Martinez, who is part of that group, and I want to thank you for the work. She's here. I don't know why you're not joining them up there, but you've helped us in our office many times on those issues. To the mediators, and I come from a law enforcement background, and it's interesting when I think about the mediators and I look at the headline, the governor is put on notice over prisons. U.S. judge threatens contempt if the state doesn't further cut its inmate population. Now, how does that deal with mediation? When you folks handle it on that level, it doesn't resort to the violence, it doesn't resort to the battle in court, it doesn't resort to incarceration. And if people don't have a recourse in our system of justice and figure there's a recourse that's reasonable and prudent, then they resort to violence and crime and the aftermath, and then we have the governor now being threatened by a judge saying, you need to clean these people out of the prison. People need to know that the mediation is there to resolve the issues. So to all of you, what you do, it really maintains our balance in the system, democracy and freedom and justice. And people often say, we need justice in our society. You folks are the ones who maintain justice in the society and keep it out of the court, keep it out before the judge, before the jury, and the expense and all that we hear about. So I want to commend you for what you do. And like the council member presenting, coming from law enforcement, we see what it's like on the streets when we don't have that recourse, when we don't have that opportunity to send people to something that's positive, to get some results that are positive, and they walk away happy and they don't resort to something more violent, negative, and then what happens with the court battles, and you attorneys know exactly what I'm talking about. So congratulations, thank you for acknowledging, thank you for the persistence, and every time you go to work you wonder, does it make a difference? Believe me, it makes a difference, and it makes a difference in the lives of those people who are affected by it. It makes the lives in all Angelenos, so it's a dedicated service. And I didn't know that Officer Johnson was a mediator because he's been an instigator many times here in California. But it's nice to know that you're a mediator in addition to being an instigator. Congratulations, thank you all.
Oftentimes we need an Officer Johnson type around here, right?
Thank you all very much for what you do. Thank you. Alma, thank you.
Thank you.
On that note, Councilor Buscaino, I do want to thank our mediators for the past 12 years here in the chamber. Officers Johnson, Officers Duarte, and Officer Morris was not here today, and this place is Officer Kievit. But in essence, that's what you do, and I want to thank you for the past 12 years of a great job you do for us here on the chamber. That being said, Councilor Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. So on behalf of the city and specifically our Council President Weston, who couldn't be here today, we want to recognize all the work that you do, and congratulations, and recognize the 9th annual Mediation Awareness Week in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you so much. Thank you. Big photo. Come on close. Big group hug, guys. Group hug. Come on. Get in here, Johnson. You're short. I can't see you. Come on. You want to take the item?
Yes. Let's open the roll on number 8, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That passes. Mr. Clerk, what's next?
Mr. President, would you like to take an item or return for another presentation?
We do have one more presentation, I believe. Councilor Zine, are you ready?
Gentlemen, the next presentation, I think it's the final presentation of the day. It's the people who build and make sure it's engineered properly. The American Society of Civil Engineers. Come on down. American Society of Civil Engineers. We have a short video we'd like to show. And if you can please start the video.
We built Southern California. We are planners. We are designers. We are constructors and operators. We are civil engineers. For 100 years, we have dedicated ourselves to providing infrastructure for society. Water, transportation, flood control, energy, quality of life. As civil engineers, we are entrusted by society to create a sustainable world for now and future generations. This is a special invitation for you to celebrate with us. We are inviting agencies, contractors, businesses, suppliers, and all associated trades to share in this once-in-a-lifetime 2013 centennial celebration of the American Society of Civil Engineers, Los Angeles section.
All right. American Society of Civil Engineers, and I'm very proud to have them with me here this morning. The Los Angeles section of the American Society of Civil Engineers was established in 1913. The geographic boundaries, San Luis Obispo, across to Lee Vining to the north, San Diego County line on the south. Over 8,000 members in this section. This includes students, younger members, professionals, and life members. Section is the second largest section in the society, and Texas section is the largest, which encompasses the entire state. The Florida section is the third, encompassing the entire state of Florida. There are 12 universities in Los Angeles section with civil engineering programs and student chapters. Past presidents of the section include Tom LaBonge. Tom LaBonge, who is the past president of the section, including American Society of Civil Engineers. What is his name?
But the other one I care about the most is the late great Laval Lund.
How about water? I'll say water.
Oh, William Mulholland.
There you go, William Mulholland. Tom knows everything, but he didn't know that one. So past presidents of the section included William Mulholland. Over the past 100 years, members like William Mulholland have made an impact on the quality of life in the region by developing infrastructure, which has led to the economic growth of California. Civil engineers have developed the infrastructure that has led to the growth of the region. The water supply, highway, transportation systems developed by civil engineers have moved Southern California and the state on the whole into a position of economic leadership that is important in our way of life. With the latest report card showing disappropriating grades in the infrastructure we know has problems, it is important to take action to maintain the region's position of economic leadership. Civil engineers are working to develop solutions to the problems facing our region, such as climate change, transportation, clean water supply, and significant issues as the City of Los Angeles moves into the future. With our aging infrastructure, our power system, our water system, etc., Los Angeles section of this great American Society of Civil Engineers is ready to work with our leaders to develop strategies and solutions for the future that will maintain quality of life for all Angelenos and all of Southern California. They believe that engineering, working with leadership of the region, will develop a partnership that will propel the region into a place of leadership and maintain the economic and environmental leadership that the organization has been part of for 100 years. And we do have a presentation for the American Society of Civil Engineers. Again, it was originally founded in 1852, Los Angeles section established in 1913, an organization representing more than 144,000 members of the civil engineering profession worldwide. So any kind of infrastructure, whether it be the freeway system, the water system, the staples, the renovation of City Hall, whatever the case may be, you need to have civil engineers involved, and they are here today, and we are here to acknowledge them for their fine work. Without the engineers, we can't get this place moving forward, and it's a wonderful opportunity that we have to bring them here today. So I'm bringing forward the spokesperson. You, one of you. Okay. You're it.
I'm it.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. President and City Council. I am Don Sepulveda. I'm a professional engineer and a fellow of ASCE. I'm a past chair of, or excuse me, I'm a past president of the Los Angeles section and the chair of the Centennial Committee. Thank you for this honor to speak with you today. The American Society of Civil Engineers represents more than 140,000 engineers worldwide. We are proud to celebrate 100 years of service to Southern California. During that 100 years, we've seen this region grow and flourish. The economic and geographic growth of Southern California has been through the contributions of civil engineers to develop the infrastructure that we all take for granted today. Civil engineers brought water, electricity to Southern California, designed the highways and the roadways, the rail systems that carry the goods and transport the people that contribute to all of our economic well-being and mobility. Recent grades of the infrastructure in the region and around the country are not very flattering. Overall, the grade point average for the nation is a D+. We have infrastructure that needs maintenance, is out of date, and is not able to serve our current needs. Much of our infrastructure is more than 50 years old. In this time frame, the U.S. has put men on the moon, a space station in the orbit, a computer in every phone, and has achieved breakthroughs in medicine and science that were at one point considered science fiction. It is time to move forward with the investments in infrastructure that will meet the demands of the present and the demands of the future. The American Society of Civil Engineers in the Los Angeles section is ready to work with you to develop those solutions as we move all of us into the future of Southern California and Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sepulveda. Councilman Zine, you do have a couple of folks on the queue.
And let me just say that Mr. Sepulveda, they have a street named after him, and he's so important they then built a freeway, the 405 freeway, along Sepulveda. That's how important he is.
Okay.
And thank you for being here.
We do have Councilor Labange on the queue and Councilor Alarcon.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. And the Sepulveda family has a descendant on Division Street in Glassell Park, because I knocked out that door. Great history, great work. This year, the centennial of the greatest achievement known in Southern California that brought the Pueblo, the aqueduct, the Los Angeles Aqueduct, and all that. I know the Department of Water and Power is working for that centennial this November. And also you look to the Metropolitan Water District and all the work, the Colorado River. Los Angeles has had influence as a city, but it had great engineers who did it. And our engineers are very special, whether, as Mr. Zine mentioned, the restoration of the Grand City Hall of Los Angeles. This civic center, which is the largest civic center outside of the nation's capital, in a cluster of government buildings, the freeway system, the transit system. I do believe, though, when Los Angeles does go to heaven, it will get into heaven because of Mulholland in the water. It will get into heaven for the freeways only on Sunday morning when no one's on it. But we'll take some pain in purgatory because we lost the red car. That was a skip in the last 100 years. Those right-of-ways were so important that we didn't see the vision of the future. Now, with your great skills of your profession, each and every one of you are finding a way to make transit move in a way that's compatible. So I wanted to stand for the engineers. There's a plaque that the late, great Laval Lund championed for the engineers here on the lawn of City Hall South. And I just want to thank you. And Mr. Zine, it's so special. I just have one technical question that I want to ask you on that, but I don't want to embarrass you at this time. But I will ask you, Dennis, if you know on the difference on the numbering of the system for freeways, Interstate 5 or Interstate 10. Do you know how it's numbered, what the numbering system is?
It's called even and odd.
But what's more? Basically, on the West Coast, it's the low numbers, 5, and then on the East Coast, you go all the way to 95, north and south. But for East and West, it's the low numbers, Interstate 8, and then you go all Interstate 90 up near Washington across the country for the federal highway system. And we thank President Eisenhower who brought that about. But anyway, God bless the engineers. God bless the Bureau of Engineering and Gary Lee Moore. Let's put more engineers into the Engineering Bureau of the City of Los Angeles. Keep them all together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Alarcon. Richard Alarcon, are you ready to speak?
Richard Alarcon. He's now Mr. Garcetti's seat.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I was sort of chuckling when you did that thing that said we are civil engineers, and it's like we're the Army, we're the police, we're the firefighter, we're the civil engineers. But when you think about it, when you think about the impact on a city or a community in terms of culturally, in terms of their economic environment, you are the foundation for so many of those things. And so while many people might not even know what a civil engineer does, the fact of the matter is you are building our city and making it what it is. Whatever it is, you're helping to make it, making it better. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much for your work over the course of 20 years in public office and even 10 additional years in public service. It just amazes me how many times I've had to meet with a civil engineer to explain what is going on, tell me about the future, tell me what our city's going to look like, tell us about a transportation system, whatever it may be. And I think you're in many ways unspoken heroes for the city of Los Angeles. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Councilman Huizar.
Just a quick thank you to Mr. Zeinen for bringing this to our attention, because after all, this is a great division. I worked a lot closer with all of you when I was chair of the Public Works Committee, but still, even in the number of projects in my district and the work you're doing. But what I like most is that you're not only doing great service in your regular jobs, you do a number of other programs that assist the community, like the high school bridge program that you host at Cal State LA. So thank you for all your community service as well and support. You guys are doing a great job. Congratulations.
Thank you. I do want to take a moment to thank the engineers. We have an amazing number of bridges that are being worked on. The civil engineers play a big role in that with Public Works Department. Our Bureau of Sanitation engineers working on our stormwater harvesting technologies and how we intercept the debris and the trash before it gets to the river and contaminates our ocean. These are all different approaches in how we can capture the water, recycle it, and it's because the caissons and all the different waterways are performing at different levels due to the specifications as established by our civil engineers. So thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for all your hard work.
And there are ladies and gentlemen involved. This is also the public sector, the private sector, metro, city employees, private sector, all civil engineers that have helped build this region. And when you think about the 405 freeway that is being improved and modernized and expanded with the carpool, you think about the construction workers out there, but you think about who developed that plan. The civil engineers are the ones that brought that forward. And everything that's done, you've got to have civil engineers involved to make it done. Mr. Reyes, you look like a civil engineer. Thank you very much. Let's hear it for the civil engineers. Tom Labange is coming on stage. Get rid of Army Corps of Engineers. Thank you, Tom Labange. All right, thank you very much.
I'll take that as a compliment. All right. So that does conclude our presentations, I believe. So, Mr. Clerk, what do we have next?
That brings us to item number 1, called Special for Cards.
Okay. I don't see any names for item number 1 for cards. So let's. No cards. It's done. I see no cards. Let's open the row, close the row, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Item number 2, called Special for Cards.
Okay, we have with us John Walsh. Come on up. Juan Alcala, Michael Carrion, and Arnold Sachs. Please come on up. John Walsh, Juan Alcala, Michael Carrion, and Arnold Sachs. Please come on up.
John Walsh, blogging at jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com. It's always a pleasure to speak in front of Mr. Reyes, who doesn't heckle. This item is number 2. This again is the REAP We have to thank Jackie Goldberg for cracking down on landlords, and you've done an excellent job in cracking down on landlords. Remember, when I get up here, it isn't "you're always wrong." If you're wrong, I say it. If you're right, I give you praise. HollywoodHighlands.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Juan Alcala.
Wish to speak 1 minute. I don't really want to praise you, but I don't want to offend you either, because you're obviously smarter than all of us. Otherwise, you wouldn't hold the positions that you do. But you're running the wrong system anyway. See, no, sir. City attorney, wait, hold it.
Sir, please stay
I'm
focused.
trying to speak about the item.
Please do.
The item is the city should not have their fingers in public property in any way. The banks should not have their fingers in public property.
Sir, that has nothing to do with this item.
I know, it's landlords and tenants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Michael Carrion? Don't see Michael Carrion. Last call. Arnold Sachs. Don't see Arnold Sachs. Last call. Arnold Sachs. Okay, let's move. Let's open the row. Close the row and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 3. It was a matter submitted without recommendation from the Budget and Finance Committee, and a motion is required.
Okay. Let's hold that on the desk for a moment. Let's move to the next item.
Very good, sir. That brings us to item number 5, although we should hold that still for a substitute motion that will be circulated shortly, which brings us to item number 6, called special for cards.
Okay, item 6, we have Arnold Sachs, John Walsh, and Juan Alcala.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Point of order, we have people filling out cards for other people who never show up here. In other words, you should only fill out a card for yourself, not for somebody who isn't even here today. As far as this item is concerned, I brought this up because, I mean, talk about chicken doo-doo. This is an item they're now going to spend time on to appropriate $203 for services in connection with the Bradley Tower. $203. Let me tell you, the next time the city needs $203, HollywoodHighlands.org will pay it for you. Take it out of our own pocket. jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com will pay it. Don't waste our time on issues of $203 when you tell us that you have, what, a $500 million deficit over the next 10 years. HollywoodHighlands.org.
I pass. I do
Alcala.
not to speak on this item is way too dumb.
Thank you, sir. Arnold Sachs, are you in the room? I don't see him. Okay. So let's open the roll. Close the roll on this item. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay. Well, Mr. President, that brings us to item number 7, called special for cards.
Okay, we have with us Arnold Sachs, submitted a card, John Walsh, and Juan Alcala.
You know, maybe it's time for the public to send us a message to the City Council. I've been asking for a report overall on these rewards. How many are out there in the past year? How many have you paid out? How many have you refused? All this is publicity for the LAPD. How much money have you paid out? I've never seen anybody, and also on the street, people will tell you, they're afraid to come to the city because there are people at work here in the city that will rat them out. In other words, if I've seen a murder, I'm not going to, and I know who did it, I'm not going to go and come to the city because the people don't trust you. I want to know exactly how, for the past 5 years, 10 years, is this working? Is this working? Are people coming? Are they? And you don't give a damn about this. This man who was killed, Michael McGuire, reinstate the award offer, $50,000. That was a human being, okay? What's being done about these rewards? Are they effective? You know, I'm telling you, anytime I make a mistake, 15 people go down my throat. The fact that they're quiet is
Mr. Walsh, this is about the award itself.
I'm talking about the reward of Michael McGuire. Michael McGuire is dead. And your silent assent is that you don't give a damn about the reward system and it isn't working, or else you'd have the wonderful numbers showing us that the reward system is working.
Thank you, sir. Mr. City Attorney.
Just for the record, just Wednesday, a reward was paid out in council.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the record. Please, sir,
I only want to speak 1 minute because, once again, it's not a really good item. But you should reward the people with housing.
Sir, it's about Mr. McGuire's award. Please.
I know Mr. McGuire is gone, and you should reward the living.
Thank you.
By providing them housing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
All right.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 5. Before beginning consideration of that, let me remind Council that there is a substitute motion, motion Labange Englander, that has been distributed and is before Council for consideration. As such, we should first vote on whether to substitute the matter or not.
Okay, but we do have 3 cards on this. Should we wait for public comment afterwards?
Or before you.
Okay. So let's have the vote on. Okay, let's have public comments. John Walsh. Out of 5. Okay, Mr. Walsh, you're out of time. I'm sorry. Does he have time? Okay, he's out of time. Juan Alcala, you're all. Are you passed? Okay. Mr. Sachs? I just asked her, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Clerk? Madam Clerk, does he have time? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, he has no time. All right. Arnold Sachs, are you here? Okay, I don't see any Arnold Sachs. Let's move on. So what's before us is the amendment?
Yes, sir. The first vote would be whether to substitute or not.
Okay, colleagues, the first vote is to substitute or not. That has been circulated and reviewed. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Now it's before us, Mr. Clerk.
Now you can vote on substitute motion number 5. That's Labange Englander.
Okay, let's open the roll on that item, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That passes, and the amendment passes. Okay.
Mr. President, that brings us back to item number 3, the matter that was submitted without recommendation. A motion is required.
So do we have a motion on the floor to move item number 3? Councilman Krikorian moves, and second? Seconded by Councilman Zine.
Mr. President, might I remind you do have cards on this matter as well?
Yeah, quite a few actually. So please take a seat, Mr. Alcala. Okay, we do have with us several cards. Please come to the microphone. Hal Bastian. Hal Bastian, Tom Gilmore, Amanda Irvine. Hal Bastian, are you here? Yes. Please come on up. Tom Gilmore and Amanda Irvine. You're welcome to come to the microphone. You can form a line. Now we can keep this meeting going. Good day, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President. Hal Bastian with the Downtown Center Business Improvement District. I'm also a downtown resident. I live 2 blocks south of here, and I serve on the Neighborhood Council. All three of me are here to tell you that we'd like to see money appropriated for supportive housing for people with challenges. And it's critically important. We have a scourge of people dying in the streets of Los Angeles, and particularly in downtown, throughout the downtown area, particularly in Skid Row, and it's something that needs to end. And we need to invest money in it. It's much cheaper to invest money into this housing and supportive services than taking people overdose after overdose and mental breakdown to hospitals over and over again. The other thing I'd like to mention to you, as somebody who's been clean and sober for over 12 years myself, is it's important when these kinds of supportive services housing be built, that they be built in areas throughout the city of Los Angeles and not in Skid Row. Can you imagine that you're in recovery and you walk out the front door and a drug dealer preys upon you? It's pretty hard to keep it together. So we'd love to see you do this. It's a cost-effective and wise thing to do, and it's also a human rights issue, Mr. President, and thanks for letting me share with you today.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Tom Gilmore. I'm a real estate developer here in downtown Los Angeles, a market rate real estate developer. So the money we're talking about today has nothing to do with me. What it does have to do with is an extremely broad coalition of business owners, affordable housing advocates, and those who are in need in the city of LA. It's extremely important that you move forward with item number 3. Housing is the core of what makes this city great. It is not a place to try and save money. You end up spending that money on virtually everything else, like sanitation and police and all of the things that happen when people don't have homes. So please, I urge you from this entire coalition of people to push and make number 3 real. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Amanda Irvine. Then we'll have Michael Avidris and Elisa Orduña. It's coming up.
Hello, good morning, City Council members. I'm Amanda Irvine. I'm a representative from the South Park Business Improvement District in the southwestern corner of downtown LA. And I'm here also to urge you to approve the $18 million amount of money for the permanent supportive housing. There's really 3 converging factors here that come together at the perfect time for you to approve this. Your pressing deadline to leverage non-city funds. It would alleviate the concurrent funding crisis of other affordable housing units, and it satisfies the Jones settlement. And as a representative of the property owners and residents of the South Park area, we're really concerned about providing more permanent supportive housing to the homeless population in the city, inside and especially outside of downtown LA, where it's really lacking. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council. I wonder if it's possible for me to yield my space. No, can't. Okay. I'm here to support the motion. I believe there's been a staff report that's been provided to the council, which indicates the degree to which these funds would leverage substantial amounts of funds, both from the state and the federal government, not only during construction, but past the completion of these proposed 136 units for many years into the future. So a relatively small amount of capital from the city will leverage funds from outside of the city into the city, both creating jobs during the construction period, but thereafter. We know from the studies that have been done that there is a tremendous value in that leveraging when funds come into the city from Washington, D.C., particularly through the rental subsidy program. And that will benefit the city both in terms of jobs as well as the benefits to the folks who get off the street. I think one of our prior prior speakers indicated, many people are currently dying if they don't get into supportive housing. So I would urge your support, both in terms of the jobs that it'll create currently and in the future, and the ability for the city to leverage substantial dollars from outside of our system into the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alvidres. We have Elisa Orduña. Then we have Patty Berman. Then Mark Tusanan.
Good morning, Mr. President and members of Council. My name is Elisa Orduña. Here I'm representing United Way of Greater Los Angeles. We're excited that you're taking up this issue today. We feel that you're moving in the right direction by increasing the number of quality, affordable units for our most vulnerable residents that we know will be managed in a most appropriate way with supervision by LAHD. LAHD and the City of LA have been innovative in sponsoring this NOFA each year. This act demonstrates to private funders such as United Way and others that the city has a serious commitment toward ending homelessness. Last year, the Home for Good Funders Collaborative was launched. We raised $5 million to provide additional services to existing permanent supportive housing units. We hope to continue that so that you know your $18 million investment will be leveraged for many years to come. It's time for LA to stop being the homeless capital of the nation, and with your leadership, we can end chronic homelessness by 2016. We thus ask for a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, come on up. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Patty Berman. I am the president of the Downtown Neighborhood Council, but I am speaking today just as a private citizen. I just want to say that, first of all, I agree with everything that's been said so far, and those of you who know me know that I don't say that very often. But everything that has been said here is correct. In addition to that, by no moral scale is it acceptable to have a solution to homelessness that says we'll give them a place on the sidewalk. That is just wrong. We have to give them a place indoors where they can be, where they have the services they need. It is financially a good idea because what we would spend if we don't give them housing is going to be a lot more than this housing, and it is the moral and right thing to do. People who live downtown especially are very much aware of this problem, and this is a really wonderful answer. We believe that this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. As Mark Tusanan comes up, let's call up John Edwards, Tina Hossain, and John Walsh. I'm sorry. He's out. Okay. I'm sorry.
Good morning, members of the council. My name is Mark Tusignan. I'm with Enterprise Community Partners in our Los Angeles office. We're a national nonprofit that provides financial and technical assistance to other nonprofits to create and sustain affordable housing opportunities for low-income households. I'm here to express support for the Housing Department's request for $18 million in capital funding for permanent supportive housing. The city's longstanding commitment to this proven solution in ending homelessness is no more critical than right now, especially as our housing development community struggles with the loss of CRA funding, cuts to federal block grant programs, at the same time that we're building tremendous momentum in our region to end chronic and veteran homelessness. We applaud the priorities in this NOFA to focus on these focal populations and for the city's interest in fulfilling the goals under the Jones Settlement. We urge you to act favorably upon this department's request, and thank you for this consideration.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Tina Hossain. I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce and our 1,600 members to encourage your approval of the funding request before you to provide more units of permanent supportive housing for the chronically homeless. The Chamber is a strong partner with the United Way of Greater Los Angeles on Home for Good, which is a public-private initiative to end chronic and veteran homelessness in LA County by 2015. Our collective efforts have housed over 7,500 formerly chronically homeless and veteran individuals into permanent supportive housing over the last 2 years. The Chamber strongly believes your approval of a one-time allocation of funds will be an opportunity to invest in our city by generating over $38 million of economic activity over the 55-year affordability term. Without this allocation, we risk losing $107 million in scarce federal home funds. Additionally, the city will benefit from reduced demand on city services provided to the chronically homeless, resulting in savings of $20,000 per year per person placed into a new housing unit, or approximately $2.8 million in savings per year for 136 units created. We encourage your support on this important investment in housing units, which will result in new construction jobs, decreased demand on city services, and a positive economic impact while helping the most vulnerable among us find a permanent home. Thank you.
Mr. Edwards?
Thank you.
Following Mr. Edwards, we have Arnold Sachs, Russ Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Council. I'm John Edwards. I'm the president of the Pershing Square Farmers Market, as well as another 15 within the city boundaries. We are the largest farmers market organization in Southern California, if not the state. Last year, I was going to close down the Pershing Square Farmers Market. We had the Occupy movement there. We had an encampment there. We had many problems. Thanks to the foresight and wisdom of Councilman Huizar, who encouraged me to keep the market open, we did. Today, it is a thriving market. It is a wonderful place to visit every Wednesday. But during that time last year, I became and saw the homelessness right next to us. They were camping there. I spoke to many homeless people, and I saw that they needed help. They needed shelter and they needed food. There's nothing our organization can do about shelter, but we could help with food, and now we've started many programs to help the homeless and less fortunate. What I'd like to say to this council is 18 million seems a lot of money. In some ways it's not. And for the problem we have, I encourage you to support this. Obviously, morally, the homeless should be in homes. But I noticed at Pershing Square, when tourists would come through the park, they were horrified that what the country they had seen on television in Europe had so many homeless in the streets, sleeping in the park. So today I'm very fortunate and happy to say that Pershing Square looks really good, but I do encourage this body to vote for the 18 million. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. So we have Arnold Sachs, Russ Brown, and Alan Greenlee. Please come on up. Mr. Brown, come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Russell Brown. I've been a resident of downtown for 11 years. And when I originally moved downtown at 4th and Main, Pete's Cafe had barely opened, and the Midnight Mission was at 4th and Los Angeles Street. It used to be that when you looked into Skid Row at night, it truly looked like a refugee camp. Before the focus on Safer Cities Initiative and affordable housing, there were so many people on the street all night long that it was unimaginable. If you now go into Skid Row, the change has been very dramatic. Most people focus a lot on just the folks that are on the street, and in the evening there's up to 1,000 folks in Skid Row on the streets. But there's also 15,000 people a day who are business owners, employees, and many more shoppers and residents. Most of those residents in the affordable housing units used to be in Skid Row themselves. So imagine finally having affordable housing, and every single day all the vices and all the temptations that kept you homeless are right outside your door. Almost 50% of the permanent supportive housing in the entire city is in Skid Row. It's important that we approve this motion to add more housing, but it's also important that we decentralize it outside of Skid Row. Many of my friends who used to live in Skid Row in affordable housing have moved into the historic core, and just the difference of being in a different neighborhood has changed their life. So we appreciate you supporting this motion, and we work to solve homelessness for all. Thank you.
Good day, sir.
Good morning. My name is Alan Greenlee. I'm the Executive Director of the Southern California Association of Nonprofit Housing. I'm proud to be here today to represent a part of this broad coalition in support of this measure. As you've heard already and what's outlined in detail in the Housing Department's report to you about the benefits and the opportunity of this measure, they've done a great job of sort of outlining those positive outcomes, the opportunity to leverage dollars, the opportunity to build housing, the opportunity to meet the legal obligations of the city. And they're going to talk to you on an individual basis about the benefits. But I want to make sure to represent the 500 organizations that develop housing in the Southern California region. The vital partner, sort of the third leg of the stool, if you will, for the affordable housing development and partnership with the city. And on behalf of those members, I want to support and encourage you to support this measure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We have brothers Chris Farber, Stephanie Klasky Garner, Ann Williams, and Ken Smith.
Hello, I'm Chris Farber, Director of Business Development and Special Projects for Grand Central Market and Grand Central Square. Thank you, council members, for allowing me the time to express our deep support for this allocation. I'd like to comment on two elements of this motion. First, we have affordable units at Grand Central Square. We only have 61 apartments, but even at those numbers, we have seen the stabilizing and positive influence of affordable housing. Second, at Grand Central, we consider ourselves stakeholders in downtown, but also stakeholders in the city and residents of the city at large. As such, we know that the true geography of homelessness extends well beyond Skid Row. This allocation is a citywide solution for a citywide problem. For those reasons and many more, we support this allocation and hope that you will vote in its favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Klasky Garner.
Hi, good morning. I'm Stephanie Klasky Gamer with LA Family Housing. Good to see all of you here. Obviously, I'm standing here as a representative of more than 3,500 individuals who we help transition out of homelessness and poverty every year. We do that in all of your districts. We work regionally throughout the city of LA, though we are focused in the San Fernando Valley. Rather than speaking to all the benefits that our colleagues have brought up, I really want to speak to Councilman Krikorian. If you recall, when we worked together on the homeless outreach in the Sunland Tujunga Wash, you met a woman named Lisa at the time, and she had lived in a burrow that she created in the wash, and she had been living there for 4 years. And we brought her out during that Homeless Connect Day that you so bravely led with the county to reach out to the homeless in that region and bring them indoors. Lisa now is a very stable, healthy resident of Palo Verde in CD6, which is our permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless single adults living with mental illness. She would not be stable. She would not be healthy. She wouldn't be employed at Ralph's across the street, and she may not even be alive if she didn't have permanent supportive housing. And we're working now with Councilman Alarcon on continuing that outreach effort in the Valley, specifically to chronically homeless adults. So I really encourage you guys, I really encourage you to support this motion to add more permanent supportive housing units. The dollars are at risk. This is a one-time shot the city has to apply for these last used state funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Williams. Ann Williams, you've changed.
Yes, how about that?
My God.
Ann put it in a card not knowing that I was going to stay and speak, but this is a very critical issue, and we are here, Central City Association, to strongly support this motion and urge your support for it. The issue of homelessness has impacts all over the city. And each one of you in your districts deals with this in many ways. But I think you all are well aware that the significant impact is in downtown Los Angeles. And downtown Los Angeles has also been subject to particular impacts caused by the Jones settlement, which allows people to sleep on the street from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. By supporting this motion, you will be building housing for the most vulnerable population in the city, for those who truly need it. And you are all aware with budget considerations that there's never enough money to do these kinds of things. But what's critical here is you have state Prop 1C money. There's a little bit left. We're going to be able to leverage it to make this a very effective tool in alleviating chronic homelessness by providing permanent supportive housing for this population. You will be helping every district, but you will really be also saying to the residents of downtown and to the property owners and businesses that you understand the impacts, that you care about them, and that you are willing to do this very unique and innovative transfer to address those issues. So we urge your strong support. Thank you very much.
Ken Smith, Juan Alcala, and Molly Reisman.
Good morning. I'm Kent Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the LA Fashion District BID. I'm also a member of the Business Leaders Task Force on Homelessness. Permanent supportive housing is critical to ending chronic homelessness in LA, and that's why I'm here to support the CAO's recommendations. As a task force, we have raised millions of dollars in private funds to support these efforts in the past, and the Fashion District BID has also contributed financially to this effort. The chronically homeless use an incredible amount of public resources when they are allowed to live on the street, which is also a virtual death sentence for these Angelenos. Studies here have shown and demonstrated that it is far cheaper for the taxpayer to put these people into homes with services, not to mention the lives saved in the process. This is also an economic development issue as businesses and neighborhoods struggle to be successful with people living on the sidewalks right in front of their properties. Please support the CAO's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alcala.
See, all these beautiful people concerned about the homeless. I've been living homeless for 5 years, so I know what it's like over there. I gone to jail 19 times.
Mr. Alcala, you got to focus on the item that's before you.
I know. I'm telling you what homelessness is like.
Yes, and just direct your comments to the council.
Okay, look. I have been telling you now for a long time that we all need housing in a permanent basis. We need to create a parallel system where we end the homelessness. And I know you are talking about $18 million. It's not even a drop in the bucket. But go ahead and approve it, because we need to create a system where nobody can go homeless for any reason. Do you get it through your heads, or is that too futuristic thinking for you? Huh? Are we living in the past? Yes, we are. We are more concerned about baseball and Jackie Robinson. Excuse me? We need to end homelessness first. Throw away all the other sports and everything until we solve the homelessness problem. And let's create a system where nobody can go homeless for any reason around the world. And let's stop being so territorial that we'll kill each other before we'll provide housing for everyone. Are we stupid? Yes, we are. Is City Council smart? Yes, they are. They know how to get our money all the time.
Thank you, sir. Molly Reisman, Gigi Szabo, and Shelter Partnership. Didn't put their name, but it's Shelter Partnership.
Good morning, Council members. I'm Molly Reisman with the Corporation for Supportive Housing, and I agree with the previous speaker. We need to end homelessness. There is an incredible broad array of stakeholders here today. This does not happen every day. We don't get this kind of agreement on many issues. But supportive housing is transforming Los Angeles for the better. The United Way and the Chamber of Commerce were here talking about Home for Good. In its first 2 years, Home for Good has helped over 7,000 people get out of homelessness. That is 7,000 people who not only have a better quality of life, but that's 7,000 people who are productive members of their community today, who are not drags on the community, who are not deterring tourists from going to business, who are not deterring economic activity. That's over 7,000 people who aren't getting health care through emergency rooms and through paramedics, who are getting appropriate health care and can stabilize stabilize their lives and get better. A lot of folks have talked about the leveraging of funds, but there's also the cost when we leave people on the streets. Every chronically homeless person costs an average of $40,000 a year to live on the sidewalk and ultimately to die there if we don't do something. When we support supportive housing, it costs us less than half of that. This $18 million does sound like a lot, but let's remember this is going to provide supportive housing for 55 years, and often much longer than that. This is a critically important item. I am looking forward to all of your yes votes. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, council members. My name is Gigi Sabo. I'm with New Directions. On behalf of New Directions and the hundreds of homeless veterans we serve each year, we urge you to support the $18 million for more permanent supportive housing. New Directions has been empowering veterans and facilitating their successful return to families and society for over 20 years. We serve about 600 veterans each year, and about 80% of those are chronically homeless. According to the last homeless count in 2011, there are 2,500 chronically homeless veterans in Los Angeles County. Chronically homeless persons are vulnerable members of our community who are at risk of dying in the streets without public intervention. New Directions currently has 211 units of permanent supportive housing in construction, but thousands more are needed. Every day, one U.S. soldier commits suicide, and every night, over 8,000 veterans sleep on our county's streets, parks, under bridges, and encampments. We urge you to please help us to end chronic homelessness, to end homelessness among all veterans by supporting this funding for more permanent supportive housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry about forgetting my name. It's Ruth Schwartz with Shelter Partnership, and we work with community groups to help solve homelessness in this community for about 30 years. I want to thank the mayor and LAHD for bringing this forward, and for the council's leadership. I'd also like to call out Councilwoman Jan Perry for her dogged leadership on this issue. It's a challenging time. You've heard about that, about the state cuts, about the federal cuts. And what's really important about this now, and why it's a little out of order, and I think you've all read that, is that these projects have to go in for tax credits by July. So we really need a decision now. Can't wait until the regular budget process, unfortunately. And I think it's also important to recognize that half of the money is from the dissolution of the redevelopment agencies. So it would have gone to housing had it not been for the state's action on dissolution. So it's not like we're taking general fund money and putting into housing that wasn't intended for that. And the last thing I wanted to say was I'm a member of the State Department of Housing and Community Development's Advisory Committee, which reviews all the Prop 1C deals. There's about 12 of us. And I will tell you that this will make a major difference in how this projects in LA get reviewed, because oftentimes what happens is projects in San Francisco and other places that are able to leverage other resources, they score higher than LA projects, and this really will make a difference so that all of our projects should get the state funding that they so deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Jim Bonner, John Malloy, and Jerry Newman.
Good morning. I'm Jim Bonner with Clifford Beers Housing. We're very proud that in just the last year we were able to open 2 new projects of supportive housing in the city of Los Angeles, representing some 98 additional units of special needs housing. I think that the benefits to the people have been well outlined here. So I would just like to add that there is one other benefit that the $18 million allocation will support, and that is the payback to Los Angeles. That these projects, with their leveraging, support the building department and the planning department, so that they're still going to be here when we experience a stronger recovery that allows more real estate development in the city of Los Angeles. Appreciate your consideration of this matter.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Malloy, our former CRA administrator. Good to see you.
President, members of the council, my name is John Malloy. I'm the Chief Operational Officer for PATH, which is an organization that's been serving the homeless for about 30 years here in Los Angeles. I'm also the Executive Director of PATH Ventures, which is a separate 501c3 that was formed by PATH to build permanent supportive housing. I can tell you that we have about 400 shelter beds that we house homeless people every night in. I talk to many of them, and I'm always hurt by the knowledge that we're going to have a great deal of difficulty in finding a place to ultimately place those individuals into permanent supportive housing. And through the Alliance of Permanent Supportive Housing Providers here in Los Angeles, we're trying to gear up. We're trying to bring in outside resources all the time, but some money from the LAHD is always important in each of the projects that we promote. And so I'm here to respectfully ask you to approve the $18 million. I know that you have many budget priorities, but a little bit of city money is going to go a long way in this instance. We can bring in outside resources, tax credits, and other resources to help the homeless. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Good day, Mr. Newman. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. My name is Jerry Newman. I am the chair of Home for Good in the Business Leaders Task Force on Homelessness. We want to commend LAHD for bringing this matter forward today and for the work that they are doing to ensure that we end homelessness and put people into permanent supportive housing. The money that you will allocate today will go a long way to doing exactly what you want, which is housing those people who are currently on the street. Through Home for Good and through the work of our partners and the partnerships that we work with, we were able to leverage dollars that you put in last year to house 1,000 people. This money will allow us to leverage over $6 million in private funding and also ultimately more than $100 million in total funding, and will allow us to house 1,100 people. So your action today is very, very important. And as my good friend Tom Gilmore said to me, anything that brings Carol Schatz together with affordable housing advocates has to be rewarded with a positive vote. I hope you deliver on that reward today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Michael Carrion, Dora Gallo? I know. And Takeo Suzuki. Good day, sir.
Yes. Working with the homeless for the past 20 years has put me in a situation that if I had a little attention here, you guys would be able to hear something. Because I guess the only thing you guys do with homeless people is walk over them. Mr. Weezar is too busy reading something that he doesn't care about homelessness in his district unless it's downtown L.A. Mr. LaBonge, Ms. Perry, everybody's doing their own thing. So I guess they don't really care about the homeless person. All they want to do is pass a vote. But if you guys sit down and talk to these homeless people, you'll understand that there's a lot more issues in homelessness. There's substance abuse and there's mental health issues that also have to be addressed. So when you rush to vote for homelessness and to put money behind the homelessness, make sure you back it up with some support for the substance abuse and the mental health. Because a lot of these people don't choose to be there. They're there because of circumstances that are beyond their control. But the city doesn't have any substance abuse. The city doesn't have any mental health workers. So they just leave them there and walk over them. Then you get a few dollars and you squander it upon yourselves, and then you get chump change goes out to the people who really need it. But I guess like your attitudes today of not paying attention to what 95% of these speakers had to say is what you do. And I see most of the people not paying attention are the people who are termed out. And I guess that goes for Mr. Weezar too, because I guess he'd be termed out pretty soon also. So if you're going to do something about it, make sure you add the other two components, because you can put somebody in a house, but if he doesn't have the mental stability, he'll be out in the streets in a week. Thank you.
Dora Gallo.
Good morning. My name is Dora Gallo. I'm the CEO of Community of Friends. We are a supportive housing developer that not only provides affordable housing, but the services such as mental health and substance abuse recovery that the tenants in our buildings need to live a stable life. We are a supportive housing developer. We have been doing this work for 25 years. We work in 9 out of the 15 council districts, and we have completed 28 projects in the city of Los Angeles and another 10 outside of the city. Much of this has been said about the benefits of this particular proposal before you, and I certainly urge you to support that as well. There's going to be a focus on ending homelessness amongst those most vulnerable. This particular proposal also leverages a lot of money at the state level and the federal level. It creates jobs, and most importantly, and not addressed too, is the multiplier effect. Not just jobs in the construction industry, but the jobs created by the developers who will be buying appliances, buying furniture, landscaping services. So the multiplier effect of additional jobs is an engine towards this particular approach. We ask you to support this recommendation and look forward to building more housing in your districts. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Takao Suzuki? Takao Suzuki, are you here? Okay. No response from Ms. Suzuki, so we will close the public comment. That does exhaust all of our cards. We do have 3 speakers on the queue. Councilman Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think the public speakers pretty much covered it all. And these are folks who are in the trenches each and every day who work with our homeless population and in the downtown area and throughout the city to manage our homelessness situation. But folks, we often ask about what we can do to help the homeless, and we often ask, why isn't it that we have all done a better job in addressing the issue of homelessness? Well, this is it. Home for Good and a number of other organizations and researchers have shown that if you should provide permanent supportive housing on a decentralized basis, that's probably the best approaches to helping deal with the homeless situation. And this takes a very proactive step in doing just that. I urge your support on this. This is something that we could all be proud of in moving a direction for policies that we know make sense and that we need to do something about it, and we need a lot of catching up to do as well. I want to thank the Housing Department and also the Mayor's Office for spearheading this. But while we are providing services for the homeless population that need it and the services, it also helps us meet our direction in a settlement where we were required to build so many units of housing. This is going to help us get to that and help us relieve the situation that we have in downtown LA in dealing with this settlement. So it helps with the settlement, directly speaks to policies that we know help homeless individuals, and at the end of the day, it's also going to save us money in the long term, because we spend more money on homeless individuals who have to sleep on the street than we otherwise would if we provide permanent supportive housing for them and help them be productive members of society. So I ask for your support on this, and I want to thank everyone who came out. Shows that there's a broad and strong coalition of people who are stepping up to help our homeless individuals and also to support those things and policies that make it better for all of us. So thank you for your support on this. I know the Housing Department is here, Mercedes, our General Manager is here, and others are here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Huizar. Our next speaker, Councilor Perry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank the Housing Department for making the request and believe that the Council should approve the proposed $1.8 million general fund allocation. 8 is, whoops, there's a typo on my notes. 18. 1.8 wouldn't get us very far. Yeah, to support the development of permanent supportive housing, and I think it's a good investment. These funds will be highly leveraged and provide the city with the opportunity to fulfill the obligation of the Jones Settlement. The Jones Settlement required the city to build 1,250 units of permanent supportive housing, and we have made tremendous progress. At this point, the city is only 136 units short of that goal, and now is not the time to put brakes on this progress. Now, I've taken a look at the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Notice of Funding Availability and would like to make one amendment. Need your second on that. The NOFA includes a 5% scoring boost for permanent supportive housing developments that include a public restroom, public laundry facilities, and public storage facilities. I believe that should be removed, and I'll tell you why. I don't think that permanent supportive housing developments should be burdened with providing public facilities, such as laundry, restrooms, storage. This is an attempt to meet an objective regarding the Landvan lawsuit, but it is a bad idea, and it is difficult enough for nonprofit housing developers to build the minimal amounts of housing and amenities for the clients and tenants to which they serve. And if I would, may I have a second to that motion? I have a second from Mr. Parks. That approach would compromise design, security, and the overall well-being of those who are living in permanent supportive housing. Otherwise, I commend the Housing Department for pursuing this path and ask for a yes vote as amended.
Thank you, Councilman Perry. Next speaker is Councilman Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. To Carol Schatz, thank you. You can sit down. I know the dedication you have for the downtown area, and I commend you for that. Jerry Newman, the others that have spoken. When I get off the Hollywood Freeway and I travel down Spring Street, there's a homeless encampment just 2 blocks from City Hall. People that come visit Los Angeles see that. It sends a message that we're not very compassionate for people in the city of Los Angeles, the city of the angels. Skid Row has been a situation that's been taking place for many, many years, but that situation, as we see, has spread to other areas. And I know the Jones case and the courts and this and that and the other, but what it sends to the people who visit this area, who go to Alvera Street, who come here to Los Angeles to see, they say, does anybody care? Does anybody care about these people? And I talk about the veterans, because I work with the United States Army Advisory Board, and many veterans come home and there's no compassion for them. So while we're talking about a lot of money, and I spoke to our budget chair, Mr. Krikorian, about this, the leveraging is important. The fact is, if we don't do this, how much worse is it going to get? How many more sidewalks are going to be with tents and shopping carts and items that the people possess, human beings possess? How many people we have to walk over before we get to our destination? And we shouldn't be walking over anyone. So this is something that obviously is a situation that's becoming more and more significant, sprawling more and more, as Jerry Newman told me, into the San Fernando Valley, other regions where it's not as visible, but it is there. So, Carol, for the good work you've done, for all the years of dedication, and all the other folks that are here that are trying to have an impact to make a difference, and Jan Perry, the dedication you've had for it. The dollars are a lot, but then again, with Mercedes and her connections with Washington to leverage that for even more dollars to try and have a dent and help the veterans and help the people that are in need. And I know that when I go down to the LA Mission during the holidays and feed the homeless, there's many families that are there, many children that come up. And that's a sad situation that we see in our society of caring and compassion. So I support this, and I think it's an effort to try and help bring back the vitality and help people that are in need. For whatever reason they're out there, someone has to help, or it's just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. So those of you that are here, thank you for your time, your energy, your enthusiasm. You've got my vote, and while I say it's a lot of money, hopefully we can put a remedy and bring an end to this sad tragedy that's happened to so many people. For whatever reason, it's something that's real, and we have to deal with it. So thank you all for being here. You got my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor LeBons, followed by Councilor Krikorian.
Is there a staff here to the center table? And thank everyone for their participation today. Just give us an overview of the CAO. And this is a good thing. This is general fund money, etc.
Good morning, Patty Huber from the CAO. I will defer to the Housing Department.
But I want the CAO to say it's a good thing.
Project. We recommend the use of the $18 million for this program. It helps us to leverage other state dollars to really put in very critical housing.
Okay.
Good morning. We want to thank you for hearing this. We want to thank those that have come forward. We're in a time now, because we don't have redevelopment dollars, and because, frankly, our governor has made numerous statements in opposition to affordable housing development, that it's going to be difficult to find new state dollars for affordable housing. It also puts us in a position where we must be opportunistic when we don't have other resources and when an opportunity presents itself. This is our new environment of doing business. The Prop 1C dollars, the TOD infrastructure dollars, they have been gathered from all of the deals that have fallen through. They've put together the last pot of $50 million at the state level. There is a set aside for permanent supportive housing. This is it. What we're also wanting to understand is that because other cities are facing the same difficulties with the lack of redevelopment, it is those cities that step forward right now that are going to have the opportunity to leverage dollars.
And how many units is this projected?
This particular $18 million would be completely focused on the chronically homeless, so the most difficult to house. It would be 136 units. It would be enough money to finance those across the city, and that is the last amount that is necessary to put us in the pipeline to extinguish the Jones settlement. We are 136 units shy, so the $18 million is targeted specifically at that problem.
And then Ms. Perry's amendment?
We've spoken with it. We're okay with the amendment.
Support Ms. Perry's amendment. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Kokorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I forwarded this to Council without recommendation. I want to rise now to speak in favor of the proposal and ask for your aye vote. I think we all know from our own experiences in our own district the dramatic impact that homelessness has on our local economy, on tourism, of course, the impacted population itself. And I've long believed that permanent supportive housing is the only real long-term sustainable solution to addressing that problem in our districts. Because our homeless populations, for the most part, as Stephanie Klasker-Gamer was talking earlier, we have those populations in our community, and they're not going to pick up and move downtown, no matter how much housing we move downtown. They want to stay where they are, and we have to have housing opportunities, supportive housing opportunities, throughout the entire city in order to service those populations. At the same time, right now, we've complied with the Jones settlement in terms of permanent supportive housing in the downtown area, but not outside of downtown. So while our districts are being impacted by inadequate permanent supportive housing, downtown is being impacted by the Jones settlement's injunctions on enforcement activities that could be taking place if we were in compliance. So on the merits, this is a proposal that makes a great deal of sense. One of my reservations about it was, well, why are we doing this outside of the context of the ordinary budget process, where we can compare the competing priorities of this city and evaluate this $18 million expenditure versus an $18 million expenditure in some other area, because this is a substantial general fund appropriation. Make no bones about it. One of the speakers mentioned some of it was from CRA funds. Let's be clear. That was already assumed in the general fund. This is general fund money, 100% of it. And this is going to impact our budget and our deficit. But that being said, I think that it's undeniable that there's going to be significant fiscal benefits from this as well, in our ability to comply with the Jones settlement, first of all, and bring closure to that, in the enhanced business activity we're going to have when we address homelessness throughout the city, in increased tourism, in the economic activity that's going to be generated by this investment in itself, because this is $18 million that's going to be leveraged multiple times, and all of that money is going to be spent right here in Los Angeles creating jobs at a time when we should be doing that. So for all of those reasons, it makes good fiscal sense. And the timing issue, I just want it for anybody who still is concerned about that, as I was, just to give you a little bit of comfort on that. It's clear that we have to act with this step of the process now in order to avoid missing the boat entirely on the availability of other funding sources. That doesn't mean that this is an irrevocable step that we're taking, because after the NOFA goes out and the responses come back in, they will come back before council again before July 1st. So as we go through our budget process in the coming month, as we evaluate the condition of the city and our reserves and everything else, we'll have an opportunity within that context to hear this matter again before council. And while this is an $18 million appropriation now, we could take an action and choose to go in a different direction later if the economics of the budget necessitate our doing so. But I think on the merits, this is a strong proposal. It's a very good policy, and in terms of its budgetary impact, it's a wise investment. But it also is a step that we can revisit later when we have a more complete understanding of where we want to go with our budget. So I ask for your aye vote, as amended by Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kokoi. Mr. Alacon.
Well, I have no problem with the proposal in general. I was thrown a little bit back by the amendment. I don't understand why we wouldn't want to encourage developers to build public restrooms, laundries, and storage facilities, particularly when we're being sued for our method of confiscating property of homeless people and trying to transition them into other sites. It seems to me that part and parcel of our strategy to effectively move them into permanent housing is to be able to protect their goods. So why wouldn't we want to give a 5% bonus to developers if they want to provide projects that include those facilities? It's clear to the public that laundry and restroom facilities are needed by the homeless. And in terms of the storage, that's exactly what we're being sued for. So I'm a little taken aback that this is the first, particularly since I'm the chair of the committee, that this has never come up before in committee. And why it's coming up now, I'm opposed to the amendment, and I would like to know why the department says it's okay with it.
As I understand it, when we go out with this NOFA, the units that we would most want to preference are those that are built outside of the Skid Row area, because as Mr. Krikorian says precisely, we have already met that portion of the Jones settlement. Where we most need those units to have those facilities is in the Skid Row area. Ms. Perry, I don't want to speak for her, but as I understand it, her concern is that given that we're trying to ensure that units are built outside of Skid Row, that anything that came forward from South LA would be burdened by this when they already carry lots of burdens in South LA. So that I understand.
But this is not a requirement.
It's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement. It's just a bonus.
It's not a requirement. We could go back, depending on what you all decide today, we would be happy to go back and rewrite. The issue is, what I don't want to do, because we don't have the time, is to have to come back through the whole process again, because then we will miss the deadline. So it is more important, given that we want to get these units outside of Skid Row, to get this rolling so that we don't leave the money in Sacramento on the table. That is my greatest concern, that this is our last chance.
Well, then let's kill the amendment and move forward with the whole thing. I don't understand why we're ignoring this need.
We do have the need. We do have the need, sir. There's no question we do have it. I think the issue that she raised with me, and she's right about it, is that what we're trying to do is promote a policy that funds these units outside of Skid Row, having met our obligation.
Presuppose that outside of Skid Row is the only place that needs public restrooms and laundry facilities is a gross exaggeration. Look, I'm in Pacoima. I think I know what my community needs.
Absolutely.
And one of the things they need is storage facilities, laundry, and public restrooms. We have homeless outside and in large concentrations. So I don't agree with this assessment. And if in fact that is the case, the proposals that emerge from those areas aren't going to have those facilities in them anyway. They're just not going to get the 5%. They'll still be competitive.
We're at your disposal, whatever you decide.
Council members, I urge us to vote against the amendment and support the proposal in general. I ask that we bifurcate the question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reyes.
as I read the report, we have essentially, of the 18 million, 8.6 million is from general fund, and 9.4 million is from funds received from the state as former CRA low and moderate income housing funds, correct?
Council member, that was what the Housing Department requested, and they are correct. We did receive a payment from the ex-CRA associated with the low-income housing as the due diligence review was done. Our report recommends just an appropriation from our general property tax revenue item. It's just for an accounting purposes. The reality is that is all general fund money. The ex-CRA money comes in and it is a general fund receipt. It is not separated or segregated in terms of what its funding availability or options are.
Okay.
Sergeant, report to the desk.
All right. So, you okay, Council President?
We're okay. Keep going.
All right. When we look at these funds, we have yet to determine the destination of how these funds will be used, given the programs that we have yet to decide upon. Would that be accurate?
I'm sorry, one more time.
The monies that we are now moving, the dollars that we are now moving. We do not know as a policymakers yet where that money is going to go. Has that been established yet?
Those funds have all been received to the general fund already.
No, but I'm talking about the beneficiaries. When we look at all of the different programs that are out there.
Correct, we don't know yet.
We don't know where the monies are yet going to be.
Correct.
Okay. So when I look at the homeless that are under the freeways, the homeless that are right now in our parking lots, the homeless have been pushed out of Skid Row and moving into the neighborhoods that are surrounding Skid Row. I have an amazing presence in Lincoln Heights and Cypress Park. I mean, they're in the parks, actually. I'd like to see a report back to see how we're going to address that presence, because we need to address that impact. I know when the police department did a great job in addressing the density of homeless in Skid Row, there was displacement, there's movement. But as a city, we should be comprehensive how we address that. So can I get a report back?
Absolutely.
To speak to how we're going to address that displacement, because these are the very same folks that need that attention. We do call LASA, they go out there, but legally they're limited. They say we can ask them if they want to leave, we can ask them if they want services, but they don't have to move if they don't want to. And that's been a challenge for us, especially in the residential areas. So trying to address the needs of the homeless as it continues to be mobile is a very big concern.
We'd be happy to report back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Huizar, you're next. Mr. Huizar? Mr. Englander?
Can I ask for a quorum call, please?
Well, hold on a second, please. I want to ask for the sergeant. Mr. Huizar, you want to speak? Thank you.
I think if I ask for a quorum call, it has to be done.
Mr. Huizar, the city attorney's working on it. Yes, is that the city attorney asked for a quorum call? The city attorney said if you ask for a quorum call, I got to give it to you. So we'll have a quorum call. Mr. Clerk, call the quorum.
Very good. For those members that are here, when I call your name, if you could please answer aye. Councilmember Alarcón. Councilmember Buscaino. Councilmember Englander. Councilmember Garcetti. Councilmember Huizar. Councilmember Koretz. Councilmember Krikorian.
Here.
Councilmember Labange.
Here.
Councilmember Parks. Councilmember Perry. Councilmember Reyes. Councilmember Rosendahl. Councilmember Zine. Councilmember Wesson. 9 members present, sir.
We'll take a 5-minute recess, and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Councilman Brennan.
Ms. Marquez, is it going to be a problem if this gets continued to Tuesday?
We could do it, but we're cutting off every day. We're cutting off time.
I know. It's just that there will be more people here on Tuesday, and then we don't. If you can bring somebody back today, fine.
Well, let's take a 5-minute recess, then we can.
But I just wanted to put it on the record that Tuesday, we can still salvage this situation.
Actually,
on Tuesday.
there is no quorum, so no business can be conducted right now. So there's no record.
Okay. For the record, the question was asked. We will recess for 5 minutes.
For the record, there's no record.
Colleagues, let's be back in 5 minutes. Try not to go far. I want to make sure we get the 10th council member here. Okay. Colleagues, that gives us those 5 minutes. Will you please take your seats? We do anticipate a quorum. Can everybody back in their seats, please? Okay. Okay. We do have 10. Let's have a verbal. Mr. Clerk, please go around the horseshoe.
I'm right here.
Mr. Clerk, please.
Yes, sir. Council members, as I call your name, if you're here, please answer aye. Councilmember Alarcon. Councilmember Buscaino. Councilmember Englander. Councilmember Garcetti. Councilmember Huizar. Councilmember Koretz. Councilmember Krikorian. Councilmember Labange. Councilmember Parks.
Here.
Councilmember Perry. Councilmember Reyes.
Here.
Councilmember Rosendahl. Councilmember Zine. Councilmember Wesson.
Okay, we do
10
have
members
10.
present, sir.
We do have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Councilor Perry, you were next. Councilor Perry, you're on the queue.
Why don't you be...
Councilor Perry, you're on the queue.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
we want to make sure that we understand that there was a motion
Yeah.
from Councilmember Alarcon and there was a second as well.
So I have a suggestion for Councilmember Alarcon, or Alarcon. Now that you're back, why don't you amend my motion and make it a requirement for housing developments in your area so that you can get what you want in your area? Why not? Why not? Why can't you do that? Then you get what you want.
He doesn't want you to have what you want.
He doesn't want me to what?
Have what you want.
Well, I don't, it's not about what I want. It's about I'm trying to meet you halfway so that you can get what you want. So why don't you come back to your mic and say something?
Council members, obviously, by providing that kind of disadvantage to the 7th Council District, it would put my district in a unique position and would lose potential housing because it would be uncompetitive by virtue of not being able to have the 5%. So I think that would be counterproductive. The only reason I came back was because I was told that you would consider excluding your area, and under those conditions, I'd be happy to support the package.
I have a better
Without that,
please,
I'm out.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's do it. Do it.
Hey, the gentleman of the 7th District just walked with the sergeant. Please ask him to stay.
Okay.
It's a request.
Okay. We don't have a quorum. We will adjourn for lack of quorum. Councilman Krikorian?
Under Rule 29, please, to have the Sergeant at Arms bring the members to the chamber so that we can take a vote.
Okay.
We haven't adjourned yet.
I want Rule 29 to be checked here. Is Councilman Alarcon still? Okay, there's a second. City Attorney?
Rule 29 states that upon a call of the council, if supported by a majority of the members present, whether quorum or not, the presiding officer shall have the power to send the sergeant at arms with a written order to bring the absent council member forthwith before the council.
Okay. Please, order in the chamber. Okay. So the council member has refused to come back. The sergeant did go out.
Actually, if supported by a majority of the members present, whether a quorum or not, so there has to be a vote on the Rule 29 motion.
Let's open the roll on the Rule 29. Yes.
Point of clarification in order before we go down this road and take the vote.
Please.
I think it was mentioned by the general manager that, and I just wasn't sure, and I just wanted to clarify that this, in fact, could be heard on Tuesday. Is that what she said? I wasn't sure.
Just hear it on Tuesday.
Yes. Okay. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
All right. So we do have Tuesday as an option.
Can we move to continue it to Tuesday? We cannot.
Well,
Let's vote on it.
Just a minute, please.
The only
Let's
motion
take this one step at a time.
Because there's less than a quorum, the only motion that could be entertained is a Rule 29 motion right now.
Okay, so what's in front of us is a Rule 29 motion. That's on the floor. Let's take a vote. We're going to do the Rule 29 first.
Is Rule 29 one more time?
One more time.
Upon a call of the council, if supported by a majority of the members present, whether a quorum or not, the presiding officer shall have the power to send the sergeant-at-arms with a written order to bring the absent council member forthwith before the council.
Okay. Councilor Kukor?
Withdraw the motion. I'll withdraw the motion.
Councilor Kukor will withdraw the motion. There is nothing else in front of us. This meeting is adjourned for lack of a quorum. We'll continue this item until Tuesday.
Pursuant to Rule 53.
Pursuant to Rule 53.